Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, D3 Topics Gaming, here to give you another solid episode of my weekly Q&A to how the people's questions for answer a series of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. This episode might be a little bit longer than last week because this time we actually have about 5 questions. We didn't get too many questions in the comment section of the last video, but I can openly say that the majority of them did in fact make it into the video, so that's a good sign. And before I start getting into these questions, as I normally do in just about every video, if you haven't already, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe to make sure every subscription does really count moving toward our actually end of the year goal. And also, someone in the comment section of the last video also brought this to my attention, which I wasn't even sure, I didn't even know this was happening. But also make sure you press the bell's notification marker, because apparently some people have not been getting notifications when I upload videos. Apparently this one subscriber has been subscribed to me for years, and he just now discovered I was still doing videos over like perhaps last year or two, so that got me a little bit concerned. So make sure you have those notification bells rung, because trust me, I have no intention on stopping doing YouTube anytime soon. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's jump right into the questions. And the first question comes from Brady Burke, and he wants to know, is there going to be a bright future for the Sonic franchise? I don't see why not. The movie was, someone actually answered that question a little bit, but I'll go a little into a bit more detail. But I don't see why not. I mean, not only was the movie very successful, I think it almost guarantees we're going to get a second one. And if they kind of just stick to the path that they're going, I think the second one is going to be just as enjoyable, if not more. I think where you could be a little bit hesitant is with the video games. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The last time I actually played a real Sonic game, like a new one, was probably back in the 90s. I have not played a Sonic game since. I'm a fan of the traditional style of Sonic games. I've not really played any of the modern 3D attempts at the Sonic games because they just didn't look all that good. But heck, who knows? Maybe that could change. Maybe I think a good idea that they could try is try doing a side-scrolling version of Sonic, but have it be kind of like 3D-ish. I would definitely play something like that. But yeah, I certainly do believe that, the future for Sonic is looking very bright. It may not be as bright as we would hope, but do I think it's heading in a much better position as it's been in the last number of years? Then my answer to that would be absolutely. Next question comes from Shadow Decis Gaming, and you want to know, if I won the lottery tax-free, what would I do with it? Okay, well, you failed to tell me how much I won, so let's just say I win like, I don't know, $5 or $10 million. First thing I would do, I would pay off my car so I wouldn't have car payments. I would not attempt to buy a better car, or I would then move. I would move into a 2-bedroom apartment. I would not be interested in living into a house. I could not survive in a house by myself. I would then get a pet. I would not plan any fancy trips. However, the trips I would plan would be to kind of find out where all you guys live, or like the dedicated fans, and get a chance to meet every single one of you guys. I'm dead serious. I just kind of get this feeling that you guys are probably the closest group of friends I've ever had in a long time, and it's very difficult for me to actually make friends in person. So I have you guys, so just to say thanks for all of you guys who've been watching me for years. I would be more than happy to get a chance to actually meet up and hang out with you guys in person, because I just know you guys as your YouTube names. I would be very interested in getting to meet you guys as actual people, so I could find out why you guys find me so interesting, so I could, it's kind of mutual. I think after that, I would probably put some money aside just in case of an emergency. I would probably spend some money to help some of my family members that are currently sick. They're not sick of the coronavirus as far as I'm concerned, but, they're just kind of older. And that's about it off the top of my head. I think the rest I would just save. You see, the thing about me is that because of how I was raised, I typically, if I get a large sack of money, I don't tend to burn through it. I want to make it last, or maybe I might invest it and put it towards something that I know is going to make money, so that I can keep the money flowing, but I wouldn't stop my job. I mean, if anything, I would probably want to go back to school, get another degree so I can get a better job. But that's about it. I certainly would not do what most people do and just blow it on stupid stuff that you don't need. Because I've always been taught, when as my parents raised me, if you get money, you should spend it on things that you need first, and then if you have money to spare, then spend it on things you want. But since I have all this money on things I do want, I kind of want to hold off on getting those because they're not necessary. Get what you really need first. Focus on that. So I guess that's what I would do if I won the lottery. Next question comes from Red Guilty, and you want to know, what makes a game a perfect 10 out of 10 in my opinion? What makes a game a perfect 10 out of 10? Oh, that's easy. Number one, it has to have a very, very compelling story. That's number one. You just have to, or at least a very interesting concept. Number two, it has to be a timeless game. When I mean timeless, it means that no matter how much time has passed, I always end up enjoying it, no matter how many times I've played it. So games like Dead Space 2, Resident Evil, Shadow of the Colossus, Metal Gear Solid 3, Super Mario 64. That's just half the list. Maybe if people want, I'll do a full video going over all the games I think are 10 out of 10 games. But games like those, no matter how many times I play them, they're just incredible games. I mean, don't even put graphics into effect. I mean, just in the state that they're in, they're incredible games. And I think that those are just the basic components of a 10 out of 10 game. There's a lot of great games that are like 8s or 9s, but I never find myself going back and playing them. Like, for example, games like, just to throw out a few, games like Horizon Zero Dawn, or Spider-Man PlayStation 4, or hell, even God of War. These are games I have played, and I really enjoyed them, and I thought they were phenomenal games. But once I platinum them in terms of trophies, because I am an avid trophy hunter, I don't really have a reason to go back and play them again. I mean, they've been sitting and collecting dust for the past number of months, but now that I don't have gotten all the trophies, I don't think they're good enough that I would ever want to go back and play them again, unless people want me to stream them. But those are just the basic qualities that a game would need to be a 10 out of 10 game. And not a lot of games can do that. And there's a lot of phenomenal games that have come out over the last number of years that I just don't think are quite on that level. But no, that's just how I feel. Next question comes from Zinovic, and this is an odd one because it requires so many components and there's such a lack of information. Maybe not on your part, because as someone like me who kind of has an analytical mind, I kind of like to think of every little detail, and not everyone can do that, and that's not your fault. But your question was, with only bows and arrows at their disposal, who would win a fight between Lara Croft and Aloy? Okay, here's where the problem comes into effect. One, you have to pick which Lara you're talking about, because if we're talking about the newer version, which version of that new version are we talking about? Because they're at different time, because there are different points in her life, and her skill set is going to increase or decrease depending on which version you're picking. Number two, which bow are they using? Because Aloy and Lara are consistently upgrading their bows throughout the entire game. Number three, what are their arsenals looking like? Because both Lara and Aloy have different types of arrows for different types of situations. Especially Aloy. She has a massive collection of different arrows. However, those arrows are designed to take out, giant mechs. You don't really see her fight humanoid enemies too often. I mean, it does happen, but that's not really her primary focus. So that's just, I'm not really sure I could come up with an answer to that, because it's just kind of all over the place, and I don't have enough concrete detail to pick a winner. I'm kind of tipping towards Aloy, because Aloy probably has been training with a bow and arrow, maybe a bit longer than Lara, but we don't know when Lara started, or this new version started using a bow and arrow. We don't know. Maybe she was using it as a child too. We don't know. But yeah, I'm real sorry, Sinovic. There's just too much not concrete information I have just from this question for me to come up with a standard answer. So I'm sorry. And the last question of the episode comes from Zach Tarf, and this too is a complicated question. However, I've said the same answer for many different characters when people ask this similar question. And basically, Zach Tarf, you want to know, so how do I think someone like Spider-Man could handle Wesker, or does Wesker have a problem with superpowered opponents? No, he really doesn't. It's just, the problem with Wesker is you can't, there's not many people who could overpower him, and even though it's fair to say that Spider-Man is perhaps maybe a bit stronger, he can't beat Wesker into submission. You have to beat Wesker on a genetic level. Wesker is damn right unstoppable if he's, if he's had a serum and he's doing just fine. I mean, this is a guy who can take a magnum to a face. He can be hit with an RPG. You can do anything you want to. I mean, Spider-Man could throw him off a building and let him hit the ground, and that wouldn't do anything. The problem is that you have to beat him on a genetic level, and not everyone can do that. Even Batman could not do that. There's almost nothing you could really do. I mean, someone like Nemesis might be able to overpower him, might be able to kind of crush his head. Maybe someone who's like a Juggernaut or Hulk might be able to overpower him, but it's not a humanoid like combatant like Spider-Man, who doesn't kill, mind you. So that's the problem you're gonna have with just about anyone who fights Wesker. You need to beat him on a genetic level first before you even have a chance to take down Wesker in a physical sense. That's the problem that the 99% of most people who would face Wesker are gonna have. I mean, trust me, you remove that serum out of that scenario in Resident Evil 5, and there was virtually no chance that Chris and Sheva could beat Wesker. That's really what it comes down to. So that's the problem you have with just by putting anyone against Wesker. You need to beat him on a genetic level first, and if you don't know that, then you don't really have much of a chance of taking him down. And that about does it for all the questions that were sent to me for this particular episode. I'd like to thank everyone that sent in your questions to make this episode possible. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me roughly around Wednesday before noon before I start filming the next episode. And like always, make sure, that it has a little bit more depth or a little bit more interesting if you want to increase your chances of having them into the video. Otherwise, I'll just answer them in the comment section of this video. So, with that done, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next week.